Hello again, everyone, and welcome to this segment of One-on-One. I'm Martin False. Very pleased to have as my guest today Mr. Eugene Thibodeaux, an architect who has worked on many projects in the area, in the state, all over the place for that matter. And today we're going to find out some of those projects and what got him started on his great career. So stick around. Right after the break, Mr. Eugene Thibodeaux. One-on-One is brought to you by the Law Office of Waits and Downer. All right, and welcome back to One-on-One. As promised, my guest today is Mr. Eugene Thibodeaux, well-known architect here in the area and certainly beloved in the area, involved in many projects, and certainly he had a large array of students who went through school, and a lot of you probably went to school with a lot of them. We'll find out today about some of those individuals that he helped raise along with his wife. But Mr. Gene, good to have you on One-on-One.
Good to be here, Martin.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure, and as I reiterated, I want to thank you for all of the good you've done for Terrebonne Parish and during the hurricane season and beyond. I appreciate you.
But thank you. We have a great crew here, very dedicated, and all those that have worked hurricanes, it's very vital, so I'll pass that on to them. Thank you so much. I want to start off going way back to the earliest years you can remember. Where were you born, and what was it like?
I was born in Lafayette, Louisiana, and I had a happy childhood because I lived right next to Southwestern. And I was able to use all of their facilities, and also had friends that in the Southwestern area, and I kept up my adventures by using the basketball court, the tennis courts. So I had a happy childhood, Martin.
Yeah, that's pretty cool to be right by campus where, like you say, you can, if the guys want to go play basketball or whatever, you can go do that. And it was just, it was almost like having a big backyard, wasn't it?
It was that.
Yeah. And what was your childhood like? Because I know you have to be very meticulous when you become an architect, and you have to look at detail, and you have to have a great imagination. Where did you get that from?
Well, my childhood was, I'll tell you the truth though, I played music and I didn't really know if I wanted to be an architect or a musician. And I think that the music gave me the discipline that I needed, and working with an orchestra and working with the band, I was able to go ahead and get that discipline that's necessary for architects.
What did you play?
I played the cornet. It's a small version of the trumpet, but I was fortunate to play second place first in the All-State Honor Band at LSU, and I really enjoyed my time at Lafayette High. I went to Lafayette High and graduated in the first class of the new school.
Wow. See, that's why we have the One-on-One, so we could find out that Mr. Eugene Thibodeaux was a pretty good musician. That's something I never knew. How long did you dabble in music, or was it something that was short-lived?
I started in the 5th grade, and then when I got to high school, I took it more seriously. I played first chair first for Mr. Gilfrey, who was my band director. And in fact, Mr. Gilfrey, when I graduated from high school, I went to Southwestern, and Mr. Gilfrey was also the band director that went to Southwestern also at the same time. Mm-hmm. So I confided in him and told him that I had a love of music, and I would either like to go into music or into architecture. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Gene, go into architecture because you can always play on the side for. And it was a wise decision that I made, because in my second year of college, I contracted tuberculosis, and I had to quit playing the trumpet. So after recuperating from tuberculosis, I was fortunate. I got a state scholarship to Tulane in architecture, and continued from there.
So tuberculosis, of course, affects the lungs, and I guess it affected your ability to get the air out, huh?
It did, yes.
Yeah. Wow. So, as God would have it, your road changed.
Right.
And obviously in music and in architecture, they both in the arts. You both have to have an imagination, and you have to go down roads
Correct.
untraveled. Did you always know you had that gift to sort of be creative?
No, I didn't. I actually I guess I worked into it. When I started out over here in Houma in it was 1967 that I opened up my own firm, and then later on formed a partnership, and then after that a corporation, and then I carried on the corporation. But I worked and I was performing. I love to perform service for the community. I was in the Kiwanis Club and the JCs, and I was working with fine people like Stanwood Duval, our federal judge now, and Dale Thompson, one of the leaders and shakers of our area. And we performed a lot of good services. And while I was in the JCs, we had what was called air shows at the air base. And I got fascinated with flying. And I remember I went to a convention one year with the Key Clubs. Our Kiwanis Club started the Key Clubs over here. And I went to convention 10 years in a row with them. And I remember one year coming back, the bus broke down, and I was working on the H.L. Bourgeois High School and the Courthouse Annex at the same time. They kept calling me, and I had to eventually take transportation to come back down. Now I thought about it, and I said, I love both what I'm doing, so let me learn how to fly so I can get back and forth quickly. So I did. I took flight lessons and became a private pilot in 1971.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm.
You sort of adapted on the fly, so to speak. If you saw something that could better something, you did it, didn't you?
I did. I tried my best, to combine the two. And actually, architecture to me right now is like flying an airplane, because you have to do a pre-flight before you take off to go from point A to point B. And after you do the pre-flight and you start on your journey, you have to make minor corrections while you're flying. So, and it's the same thing with architecture. You go from point A to point B, and you run into some little problems that have to be resolved. And then at the closing of the flight, you go ahead and close out the project just like you do with architecture. You close it out and make sure that everybody's satisfied. And
I guess both are critical. You can make a very minor mistake, but if you make a major mistake on both,
correct,
it can be problematic.
It could be.
Yeah, so you have to really sort of, I guess, lay it out and sort of always be attuned to what you do. And Was your mom creative? Was your dad creative? Where'd you get that from?
They were both hardworking people, and I guess they were creative. I remember I got away with nothing, and my daddy was old-fashioned, and he used a belt. And my grandmother was the same way. I used to go to the country during the summer times to help my grandmother pick cotton and hoe potatoes and help my uncles do that. And if ever we did something wrong or we were told we did something wrong. And,
so you come from that blue collar mentality where work ethic was just
Right.
paramount.
Correct.
Because you've always had a tremendous work ethic.
Thank you, Martin. I do that, and I do it because, and after my last episodes with cancer, I know that the Lord is leading my life, and I'm asking Him. I pray every day. I read 5 verses of the Bible every day, and I'm asking Him to lead my life now, to tell me what to do the next day and the next day.
Not a bad leader.
He is my pilot.
Excuse the pun, huh? Right. So you get involved in all of these projects, and every time growing up, and I was in the Key Club at Vanderbilt.
Oh,
So the Kiwanis Club, we all knew about the Kiwanis Club, and we all knew about the leaders. And you were one of those people that were involved in so many things. So when there was a project or a hospital or a home, like I said, $763 million in projects. You were one of those go-to guys where people would go to and say, we got a big one here, we need some help. And that had to make you pretty proud.
well, it did. It made me humble, I guess, more than proud. But my father, who was a traveling salesman, had ethics, and he taught me that. And I tried to carry it on in my profession. But one part of and it's for everybody, we have to have discipline. And I was taught discipline early in my lifetime, and I'm trying to bring that to the community. If in anything that you do, you have to have discipline. So, and I guess I was fortunate. The Lord has allowed me to live this long.
Right.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm.
What was your first big job? Once you decided you were going in architecture, and once you got that diploma, that piece of paper that said Gene Thibodeaux's on his way, what was that first nervous moment that you remember you had?
The first big job was H.L. Bourgeois High School. I have to give credit to my ex-father-in-law, who was on the school board at the time, and they needed a high school, and I was good friends with Curtis and Davis, who did the South Terrebonne High School. South Terrebonne High School was the first air-conditioned high school in the state.
Really?
And Terrebonne was the second air-conditioned.
Okay.
So I used a lot of my colleagues' help in order to go after that project. So, we were fortunate under the partnership to go ahead and get H.L. Bourgeois High School. And I was the architect in charge of H.L. Bourgeois High School. We had some problems. Remember, we didn't have enough water in order to have a sprinkler system in the school. So therefore, I decided to go ahead and make it all brick. Brick on the outside and brick on the inside, in order to save insurance and also to get as large a school as we could. And so that was my first big project.
And so at that point, water lines weren't big enough to supply the sprinkler system.
Correct. They only had 4-inch water lines. I think they didn't have a 6-inch water line, which was the minimum in order to get the sprinkler system to work.
And most people wouldn't think about, okay, let's just go with brick. But architects think that way.
Yes.
Do you find that you always sort of thought out the box?
Correct. Yeah, I did because I know that there's also alternate ways to do things. The problem of doing alternate ways is you don't want to increase the cost of the project. Mm-hmm. So I had to rely on the contractors, and fortunately, all the contractors that I had was able to help me. You know, when I got in trouble, I went to the contractor and said, I've done this, what can we do? And they would usually help me work something out with a no money change order, which didn't slow the job down, and we were able to move ahead. But that's one thing that I tell the young architects: if you're in trouble, go to the contractor. Don't try to solve the problem yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the contractors have their own working knowledge, and I guess at the same time, the budgets, that's why you have to build in that little extra in the budget, because there's going to be a lot of unforeseen things that come up on a project.
Correct, yes. Yeah, H.L. Bourgeois High School, I had to address the school board. We had specified some stuff that didn't work on the foundation. And fortunately, we found it out, but I went to the school board and told them we had made a mistake, and we switched back to gravel and sand the regular way that we should do it. Mm-hmm. So it worked out fine, and we had. I enjoyed H.L. Bourgeois High School because the first teachers at H.L. Bourgeois High School are the ones that helped me design the school. I took many trips to them, and I said, you're going to design your school. I'm not going to do it. I'll take the suggestions and draw it up for you. And I think they came up with a pretty good plan.
But that was always a knack you had, and you still have it, is that you're able to sit down with people and communicate the process, and to even include a teacher on a school. Not everybody does it. Not everybody goes to the teacher and says, well, what would you like? What color would you like? Or what? You made that a point, didn't you?
I did, because architects don't know everything, and we are designing for people. We're not designing for ourselves. And so I made it a point on every project that I did to make sure that I got enough information. Just like flying an airplane, I made sure I had enough information about the weather that I could fly from point A to point B.
Mm-hmm.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm. This one-on-one program has been brought to you by the law offices of Waits and Downer.